My name is Tracy. Standing in the middle of my sister's engagement party, I could feel the air grow thick with shock and realization. My sister, Ava, had just introduced me as the irrelevant one to her friends, and then, like a thunderbolt, her fiancé, Ryan, recognized my voice. "Wait," he said slowly, his eyes widening. "Your voice. Have we met?" "In a boardroom at Blackstone Investments." Ava's smile froze on her face, and the room fell into an awkward silence. I looked him in the eye and simply said, "Yes, I'm one of the partners." The power dynamic in that room shifted in an instant. Ryan's face paled, and Ava stared at me, disbelief written all over her features. It was a moment I'd never imagined, yet one I'd unknowingly been working towards for years. Growing up in a wealthy but cold family in Boston, Ava was always the center of attention. Our parents, strict and status-conscious, doted on her. She was the beautiful, charismatic one, winning beauty contests and socializing with the city's elite. I, on the other hand, was the quiet, studious one. I spent my evenings poring over books while Ava was out at parties. At school, I consistently outperformed Ava academically. But when I brought home straight A's, my father would merely nod and say, "Good, keep it up." Meanwhile, when Ava got a mediocre grade in art, my mother would throw a party to celebrate her creativity. I remember the day I got accepted into Harvard's business program. I ran home, excited to share the news, only to find my parents and Ava planning her next charity event. When I finally managed to tell them, my mother barely looked up and said, "That's nice, dear. Now, help Ava with her dress." After graduation, I moved to New York City. I didn't tell anyone in my family. I just packed my bags, left a note on the kitchen counter, and drove away. In New York, I joined Blackstone Investments, a small but ambitious firm. At first, my job was mundane, endless spreadsheets, coffee runs, and discarded pitch decks. But I worked hard and smart. By the time I was 30, I was running preliminary assessments on my own. By 33, I was traveling to Europe for cross-border reviews. And at 36, I became a partner. My family had no idea about my success. They still thought of me as the quiet, unimportant sister. Ava would post pictures of her glamorous life on social media, and our parents would shower her with praise. I, on the other hand, focused on my work, building a reputation within the industry. 8 months before Ava introduced Ryan to the family, he pitched his Series C funding to our firm. His company had potential, but also significant risks. I remembered his presentation clearly, sleek slides, optimistic projections, but with some red flags. We flagged it for further review. He didn't know my name then, and that was fine with me. At Christmas, when Ava introduced Ryan, I shook his hand and asked polite questions. He didn't recognize me, and I didn't expect him to. Ava, as always, made sure the spotlight was on her. "Tracy's still doing something with numbers," she said, laughing. "She's our little mystery." Everyone laughed, and I just smiled and sipped my wine. But I knew something they didn't. In 2 weeks, I'd be sitting in a due diligence meeting, deciding whether Ryan's company was worth another round of funding. I had questions, real ones, that couldn't be answered with charm or pretty slides. Back at the engagement party, after the initial shock, I excused myself and walked into the main hall. I took a deep breath. It wasn't revenge I felt. It was a sense of liberation. I'd spent years building my career, and now I had nothing to prove to them. 3 days after the party, Ryan emailed me. He apologized for not recognizing me sooner and hoped that my opinion of his company wasn't affected by our personal connection. I didn't reply right away. Instead, I reviewed his pitch deck again, flagged the same issues, and passed the notes to my team. 2 days later, I ran into Ava outside a coffee shop in Midtown. She asked if we could talk. We sat down, and she fidgeted with her straw. "I didn't know," she said. "You should have told me." I raised an eyebrow. "Told you what?" "That I was someone." She blushed. "It's just that no one ever talks about what you do. You're so private." I laughed softly. "If I wanted to embarrass you, I would have done it at the party. But I didn't. Your fiancé recognized me, and that was reality catching up." She fell silent. Then she asked, Do you think Ryan will get funding? I looked her in the eye. It depends on his answers and the numbers. And I'm not recusing myself just because we're sisters. Back at the office, our team decided to defer Ryan's funding. His company had potential, but it needed to clean up its financials. Ryan called me after the decision. He was professional and thanked me for the feedback. A week later, Ava sent me a message. She said she'd been thinking and realized she'd never really seen me. I archived the message. I wasn't angry. I just didn't need an apology that came too late. I no longer attend family holidays. I send gifts and answer messages when it makes sense. I've built a life that I'm proud of, and what they think of me no longer matters. I've learned that true power doesn't need to be announced. It speaks for itself.